Hiya, me again. It's time for another viewer question, coffee and a chat. Now, the first one of those was the what do you think the future of track is question. Very nice question, open-ended, good to get nice and get your teeth into, bit chewy, worked really well. So we have a second such question, also about track, but in a different way. So viewer Dave E says, how about some information on what makes a good slot car layout? I haven't seen much of this type of content on YouTube. There's a reason for that. You have a great channel. I love watching the unboxings. Cheers from the US. Well, Dave from the US. Cheers from Dave from the UK, because that is another very chewy question. It's such a chewy question that this is about the fourth time I've tried to record this, and the last three times I stopped myself at 45 minutes because I was going on and on and on. So, in an attempt to stop that, I've written myself some notes to keep me on track. So if you keep seeing me look over here, it's because I'm trying not to turn this into some epic diatribe about track design. That's not for here. I haven't got enough coffee for that. The other thing is, I'm recording this on a Sunday afternoon and half the world has decided they want to drive past my house. So there'll be a bit of road noise. I'll try and get rid of a load of it, but there might still be a bit at the end. I'm sorry. Right, let's go for it. Deep breath. What makes a good slot car layout? Well, Dave, the reason you don't get a lot of content on this is because it is pretty much how long is a piece of string as a question about slot car tracks. And I think people are a bit scared of it, and I'm not scared of anything, so I'll have a go and I'll probably make a right mess of it, but here we go. What makes a good layout? You need to start with, what sort of cars do you like? Because if you like these, an oval track makes a good layout. Do you like these? Probably a twisty, more technical rally track. If you like these, you're going to want more of a traditional race circuit. And if you like Pioneer Legends, you're lucky because it will work on an oval or a rally stage, or they're great. All things to all people. So what makes a good layout is picking the right kind of layout for the kind of cars you like. Now, okay, most of us like all sorts of cars. So we need a sort of hybrid, happy medium layout. There's a branching structure that starts with that question, and then it goes into what kind of cars do you like, and then it goes into what kind of driving do you like. And I'll try and cover all of the branches of that upside down tree in one cup of coffee. Having decided what kind of cars you like, you've got to decide what kind of track. So, like I say, ovals, scenic, historic, rally tracks, those kind of things, or road courses. I think the biggest thing with an oval, and I don't have one, but watching a lot of the US channels, is proportions. The length of the straights and the radius of the turns at either end. If it's too short and squat and wide and square, it doesn't seem to work. And if it's too long and thin and sausage-like as an oval, that doesn't seem to work either. I'm no expert on this. This is just my perception of what I've seen on YouTube. They don't seem to put very much scenery on. And I get that. It's a very stripped back form of slot car racing in every way. What I can talk about, I suppose, is the rally stage tracks and the circuit and road courses, because the criteria for what makes a good track in those cases is to do with a number of things, and in both cases you either need slightly more of one or slightly more of the other, depending whether you're going for a more scenic track or a racing track. Which gets me on to, if you're going to have a layout, what are you using that layout for? Broadly speaking, most people put a car on the track and they go around and they try and race against the timer or each other. It is a performance-based lap that you are trying to do. But there's a whole chunk of other people who are more interested in the model and the scenery, and their purpose of having the track is for the model to move through the scenery and to be seen, which is a whole different way of thinking about what makes a good layout. What makes a good layout in that sort of thing is a variety of scenery, is a variety of changes of level, maybe of surface, different kind of corners. You know, those kind of things where you see where you get a really, you know, a dry stone wall and a piece of track comes along and there's a swishing hairpin that goes round and back up the hill the other side. Features within the track, those sorts of things are what makes a good layout in terms of that kind of thing. A forest scene, driving that car past some pine trees. Yes, you get where I'm coming from. So it's racing or it's driving. The criteria for me works on interest. I had to write these down, so I'm looking. Interest, visibility, flow, technical, and time. We'll do all 5 of these. Coffee. So, diorama aside on all of these things here, this is mainly about the course that the rails take. Interest. So in your lap, or your stage, if it's a hill climb that starts at one point and ends at another, you need interest. You need variety. We're human beings, and it appears to me that quite a lot of us that are into slot cars have attention span issues. If it's just the same all the time, we'll get bored of it. We need a bit more stimulation than that. And if we're doing it for the kids definitely need more stimulation than that. So interest is important. And by interest, I mean a variety of features, whether it's sharp turns or wide turns or hairpins, or it's for a good home layout, you've got to have a good mixture of both. And that's about a balance, and I can't tell you what the right balance is. But it doesn't want to be boring, because if it's boring, you're going to take it down. But on the other hand, if it's got too many features and a lap is almost too taxing, you'll get fed up of that as well. It's not, there's a sweet spot in the middle where it's technical enough to keep your interest, but not so technical you get cross with it. That mixture is down to kind of your psyche, I suppose. So the next thing to talk about is visibility. Now, it doesn't matter whether you're driving a car around a track to look at it moving in the scenery, or whether you're driving it around the track to get it to go very, very fast, if you can. You need to be able to see the track. So when you're planning your track out, think of it in 3 dimensions. If you've got a layer change like I have, a second level, because you need it, because you haven't got much space, think about what pieces of track on, if you like, ground level, those bridges and things are going to obscure, and how they're going to obscure them, and make compromises so that you can see the track better. With this layout, there's walls on 3 sides. We'd stand here. I usually stand about here, probably up there somewhere. And I have over the back, I have a tunnel section, and I've made the height of the tunnel section enough over there that when I'm standing here, I can still see to the back of the track underneath. And I have in the middle section, just to the side of you here, an S-bend that goes underneath and an S-bend that goes over the top. And that piece of bridge is intentionally about that much higher than all the rest of the bridge, because from here, that enables you a better view of the cars going into the S-bend corner underneath the bridge. So it improves the visibility. I would always encourage you to try, if you've got flyovers, to adjust them and tweak them for being able to see the entry into the corner most importantly, and secondly, the exit from a corner. The bit in the middle is less of a problem, but you need to be getting it right on the way in and on the way out to make a good lap. So that's always a thing. The next thing on the list is flow. Now, I touched on this before. Your lap needs a rhythm, it needs an amount of interest, but it doesn't need too much interest. We as people, as human beings, as animals, we have a certain set of inbuilt rhythms in us to do with, how fast our hearts beat and whatever else. But there's a good reason why most popular music is all in 4/4 time. We work about like that. It suits the human being's mind and ears to have that tempo of music. So when it comes to flow, try and think of your lap like a riff in music. So a straight might be a gap and a corner might be a note in that, a guitar riff, for example. So if you look at your track, and when I look at photos of tracks that people put on the internet, I try and follow it around with my eyes. And if there's a corner, I make like a burr noise in my head. And if there's a straight, I keep quiet. And I go around and it might go burr, 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 burr. And if it's like a nice little tune, it's probably a nice lap to drive. Because if the rhythm of it is in tune with me, if I like it, I'm probably going to be able to drive it well. I know, it sounds odd, but try it. So to get a good flow, to get something that you can get in a rhythm with, you can do a load of laps. It's got your interest halfway round, maybe because there's a chicane or something, and then you're just driving again. Oh, chicane again. Oh, chicane again. If you can get that repetitive thing, it's really good for your mental health because you can do a load of laps, you can zone out a little bit, it can chill you out, and that's one of the big parts of the hobby for me. What makes a good layout? A layout that you can zone out and just do laps to. It gives your brain some freedom. That's what makes a good layout. So the last thing on the list is lap length, not distance, time. You can have a track with long straights and high speeds and get the same lap time as my 60 feet of track here. It's not about that. It's about the fact that for me, if you've got a lap and it's 3.5 seconds, it's going to be a bit frantic. But equally, if you've got a lap and it's 15 seconds, it's probably a bit laborious. There seems to be a sweet spot with certainly the channels I watch, like Marty Ford and so on, who have similar kind of road courses to me, that there's a sweet spot in the 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe up to 12 seconds. That sort of area. If you can do a lap in those sorts of times, you've got enough interest, you've got enough going on, you've got enough time to enjoy a lap without getting bored of a lap. You're probably not overstressing yourself too much. You can probably get a good rhythm doing laps with that. So what makes a good slot car layout? Well, what makes a good cup of coffee? Coffee, sugar, maybe water, milk. There's a set of ingredients. My nice cup of coffee has a different proportion of those ingredients to your nice cup of coffee, especially if you don't like coffee. And that's the same with a track. As long as you've got all of the ingredients, the proportion of them is the nuance for you. But I think the ingredients should always be interest, visibility, flow, technical, and time. Good chat.